Welcome back to the Real Country File. Now I'm on the sprayer at the moment, but I've been to check out the summer barley, so we'll show you that soon. Stephen has been in Herefordshire and he's been at a fruit farm, so we can check that out. And also Angela's been in Shropshire visiting a pig farmer. So let's go and look at the summer barley. That's the summer barley over there, looking pretty golden. This is some winter barley, up nicely in rows now, looking great. And this is how ripe the summer barley is. It's getting there. I would say it's probably 2 weeks off. Anyway, let's go and see what Stephen's been up to.
So we've had a few requests for not just vegetables, not just cows, but fruit farmers on the Real Country File. So I've come along to see Tom to find out just how it's going in the polytunnels. Tom, surrounded by strawberries in flower, mid-September. Is that a good sign? Have you had a good year? Has it been too hot, too cold?
It's not brilliant. Heat wave was fairly horrific for us. We had a lot of fruit all at once, and then the plants sort of shut down because it was so hot. Hence why we've got a lot of flower now, which really should be green and red fruit at this time. So we're a little short at the moment, which is a bit annoying.
And what's your usual season for growing? What do you grow?
So we grow strawberries and blueberries, and they grow from May until November. Blueberries from June until we've sort of got another 3 weeks left of blueberries to pick.
And are you a supermarket? Are you
so we supply Asda and Morrison's through our marketing group Berry Gardens, and so yeah, they all go there. And
so the heat was an issue. What about watering? Have you got an issue with getting water on farm, or?
We haven't. We take out of our local river, but just to secure us for the future because of the extreme weather, which seems to be more frequent, we're actually putting a reservoir in at the moment. So that's sort of next project.
All right. Okay. So you're going to get a few thousand gallon, a million gallon in.
Yes, we will do. Yeah, and that'll safeguard our water supply for the farm for, well, hopefully for next generation.
And driving around your farm and just the vast amount of polytunnels that you've got, and all of the fruit seems to be, well, none of it seems to be in the ground, is that right? It's all in containers?
Yeah, so it's all grown in substrate, which is basically it's a coir mix, which is coconut husk basically. So everything gets fed and irrigated through drippers, and that's how strawberries and blueberries are fed.
And I did notice from one to the next, it seems to be going up in size for size of bushes or trees for the blueberries. Is that?
Yeah, we've got 7-year-old bushes, which are the biggest, and then we've got some 4-year-old bushes, and then we've also got a nursery area which they're all 2 years old.
And is there an optimum year that's like 6 years? That's when we'll get.
So they're fully productive in about year 4, and then yeah, we hope that they go until they're 15 years old. But we've only started growing blueberries last year, so we're unsure.
So relatively new enterprise.
Yeah, new enterprise. So we got the older plants off some kind farmers who were getting rid of them, and then we bought the nursery area from Spain there from.
So what did you do before the blueberries? Just strawberries?
Just strawberries, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And have you cut back on the strawberries?
No, still growing the same amount of strawberries. It was just more spreading the risk,
right?
Really, in these uncertain times.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And any idea how many punnets of strawberries you produce a year, or is it you work it in tons?
No idea. Tonnage wise, about 500 tons, and we do about 80 tons of blueberries this year.
Wow.
Which should double next year because the nursery area is sort of getting to full production next year, hopefully.
And blueberries seem to be one of those things when I see them in the supermarket that it's a constant, a strong price. They never seem to be on a lost leader, the blueberries. Do you know what I mean?
Hopefully that continues. Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been pleasantly surprised since we've started growing them how much they seem less volatile than strawberries anyway.
Have you any idea how many acres you've got under this polytunnels?
Under polytunnels, it's about 20 hectares. So.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. What's that in acres?
That's a lot of labour, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We have about 100 people at our peak, so there's not that many issues with that this year, to be fair, which is always good.
Okay, and they're all living on site.
All live on site. Yeah, very seasonal, so they arrive in April, and go home in November.
And have you got people who come year after year after year to?
Yeah, so we're about 65% returnees year on year, and we've got people who've been here for 15 years. So, yeah, no, it's...
You're doing something right then.
Must be doing something right, which is always good, isn't it?
And earlier on in the week, I was fishing on the lake down the way, around the fisheries, and I noticed the forage harvester cutting the maize. Is that another... That side kind of...
Nothing to do with me. We rent the land out to a neighbouring farm who does that. It goes to an AD plant about a mile away.
So the land that you haven't got underneath plastic, then you just rent that out?
Yeah, that's rented out. Yeah. I don't want to get involved in bends and arable and stuff. I don't have enough acres for that.
And yet you get involved with this crop, which looks, tremendously delicate at the best of times. But on a really hot year like this year, you must have been. Just wondering when was it going to get colder and when we're going to have some rain? Yeah,
we were, and to be fair, hopefully it's one of these sort of things which happens every 6-7 years, which seems to be that you have this massive heat wave. So if it doesn't happen every year, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it has made things very difficult this year.
In terms of optimism, you talk about even more blueberries for next year. Out of 10, how optimistic are you about the future of soft fruit, British growers?
Yeah, we're putting more blueberries in, and yeah, you've got to be optimistic, so... Yeah.
8?
10 out of 10,
10 out of 10, all right, Tom.
I've got to be, I'm young. I can't retire yet.
Fair play. Well, listen, Tom, really appreciate having... I know you're mega busy. You've just bought a new blueberry harvester, I believe. Is that right?
Trialling one at the moment, which fingers crossed will work for next year.
Right, well, thanks for stopping that for 5 minutes and getting on with that.
No worries.
And good luck for the harvest next year and your future plans.
Yeah, no problem. Cheers. Thank you.
Now, do you grow soft fruit or something a little bit different in the UK? We'd love to hear from you as well. Tom's done a great job explaining about blueberries and strawberries on this week's The Real Country File, but we'd love to hear from you as well. Get in touch at vids@therealcountryfile.co.uk.
Thanks for that, Stephen. Now, let's see what Angela's been up to. So she visited the pig farmer in Shropshire.
Hello, you're joining me today from beautiful Shropshire here, and I'm talking to Lee Gilbert, who's a farmer locally, just generally about the farming activities that he gets involved in. So Lee, just give us an overview. What's happening on this farm here?
So basically what we have here, we've got a pig rearing enterprise. So we've got just a little under 2,000 pigs on site in these two buildings that we've got here, and we take them in at 7.5 kilo, which are about 12.5 weeks old, and we keep them through until they're about 110 kilo, and then we send them off once they're fat for slaughter.
So I think, is that called bed and breakfasting?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So we do a bed and breakfast service they're a very large family run production company in the UK.
So in terms of your sort of day-to-day activities, what does that predominantly involve from the livestock point of view?
Depends on what stage of the batch they're at, really. For argument's sake, there's a lot more work at the beginning of the batch when they're small, and there's a lot more work at the end of the batch when they're really big. And it also depends on the time of the year, because at the moment, obviously, it's really warm. It's hot in the day, so we tend to start earlier. So we've cleaned the pigs out and everything's done, dusted, and they settle back down before the real hot weather comes in around lunchtime. The buildings are quite clever. The buildings are temperature controlled, so the curtains will go up and down whether it's too hot, cold, too breezy. Again, if it's raining, it'll shut the curtains.
And does that happen automatically?
That's all automatically,
wow,
yeah.
Gosh, okay. So it's got sensors fixed in it?
Yes, so there's temperature sensors in the building, then we've got wind and rain sensors on the outsides, so we can really keep... We don't want big fluctuations in temperature. And then inside the building, it waters them. It's automatic waters, automatic feeders. It's ad lib, so they've got food all the time. It's a heavily straw-based unit, so a lot of these traditional units, and certainly stuff that you'll see perhaps across Europe, will be what we call a slatted tank unit. So they've got slatted floors, and all the muck is underneath, which tend to be quite smelly. What we've got here is quite a modern unit. Everything is straw-based. They're cleaned out daily. We don't keep a great deal of muck on site at all, so that's gotten rid of. We have a lot of trouble with planning. So we come along, we put an application in to change it back to agricultural land, and we put in an application for the 2 pig rearing units. The levels that we have to reach in terms of for the planning application in the first place, with odour assessments and noise surveys and everything else, we prove there's no impact on the local area.
So if somebody else was wanting to put up some pig rearing units or sheds of that kind, the best advice you can give them is to embrace the community and show them other examples of a successful conclusion, is it? Or what would you recommend?
That would be the way forward. What I found really hard is I was a new entrant to farming. I'm not from a farming background. And I've put my own money in to set my own farm up. Yet I've still been faced with nothing but an uphill battle all the way through. And I think really new entrants to farming should be supported. I'm not looking for grants or handouts, but it'd just be so much easier if I didn't have to face an uphill battle every time I walked out the back door.
Yeah, that's it. So that the hardest thing that you found with farming generally is just sort of the planning and the issues at the very outset.
Absolutely.
To get started in the first place.
Yeah, because when we started out, like I say, I wasn't a farmer. It was all new to me. The firm and the reason that we picked bed and breakfast, well, there's two reasons really. One, we'd invested all the money that we'd got into the farm and setting it up, so therefore I couldn't afford to buy my own stock, which is where the bed and breakfast service was brilliant for me, because then I'm not taking the risk as well. With fluctuating feed costs, and the pig industry especially is notoriously up and down. So that was the one reason, and the other reason was, truth be told, I needed me handheld, because I didn't really know what I was doing, and the firm that we were working for, or are working for, they've been fantastic. They've helped us every step of the way through, even with the planning, that we had the National Pig Association writing letters of support for the buildings, and the vets and everything as well. So they have been fantastic.
Yeah. So as things stand now, have you reached the goal that you want? Have you got the sheds that you need, and how have it worked out in the end?
Yes, we're doing well. So we've got the 2 units. We've got another couple of buildings down here that we needed for more straw storage. I would love, now that I know the job inside out, or certainly a lot better, I would love to put more units up. But the reality is, since my units were passed in 2017, I believe there's only been one other pig rearing enterprise that's been approved planning wise since. So there's a number of people that I know of that are desperately waiting, but they can't do nothing because the decision won't be granted.
Gosh, frustrating situation then, when you're keen to get your business going and then you've got the red tape behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just stopping you. But thankfully, in your situation, at least you've got some decent housing sorted, so hopefully you can use that as a springboard to persuade others that it works as well.
So that's where Angela's been this week. Anyway, have you had any trouble with planning permission and getting planning on farms for different projects? I know sometimes it's difficult, sometimes they just sail through. We've got some at the moment that the planners have just been sitting on for ages and won't give a decision, which is extremely frustrating, especially when you get going, and often things that we need to do is quite seasonal. So if you sort of miss it out by a few months, you end up having to wait a year before you can do it again. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you've been thinking. That is about it for the Real Country File this week, apart from James Pugh went to a classic tractor and forager event in Shropshire and got some really good footage of it. So that is the ending of this week's episode, so check that out. Anyway, thanks for watching the Real Country File, and we will see you next Sunday at the same time.
Hello everyone, hope you're well. Just doing a hedge cutting here, just thought I'd have a little chat explaining what you're about to see. Basically, it's a classic silage and harvest day event held on the 14th of August this year at James Dale & Co. The event was an aid for Shropshire Rural Support, offering confidential support for the rural community. Roughly 500 people attended the event. It's a very good turnout, very good day. The weather held, it was brilliant, it was sunny for once. But yeah, it was a really good day. Hopefully it ends, becomes an annual thing or so and so. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy this little bit of captured throughout the day.